Hey, Shabbat Shalom.
Hey, Shabbat Shalom, fam. I guess, depending on what time you're seeing this, or what day you see it.
Yeah, if you're watching on the Shabbat Shalom,
Shabbat
bringing in the
Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Okay.
Um, so it's not the Shabbat for us. We're attempting to pre-record again.
Yeah.
But we're watching it with you, so it is a Shabbat for us when you watch it.
Y'all caught some earlier footage of us actually prepping for
Feast of Weeks.
Feast of Weeks.
Yeah, so it's not this week that we're recording it, but it's next week.
Yeah.
And I'm still bouncing back and forth in and out of town with this job thing. So while I was here, we had to try to cram a lot in. Y'all know it's always busy.
Yeah.
I know y'all lives are busy too, but since you're watching our lives, sometimes we just have to tell y'all and remind y'all it's really busy. So we are prepping and making sure our camping gear is ready for next week, and recording our studying scriptures so that I can edit it and have it uploaded for y'all tonight, Friday night.
I just wanted to add that it's a treat because we get to come live with you guys. Well, not live, but we get to film in my favorite place, my garden. Yeah.
In the garden. So there's that.
Yeah. So that was convenient.
Real quick.
Lean with it.
Lean the other way now.
Yeah.
All right. So
From the garden.
from the garden. So we had a very interesting point where we left off. We were discussing Joseph. We discussed it. We discussed the testament of 12 patriarchs, his brother's view on him, the similitude of Joseph to Messiah, and we came up to this point where Joseph had to go and deal with Pharaoh.
Right. So yeah. Remember when I told y'all last week, I told y'all to be ready because it's going to be some tea this week. Now, since we outside, we're going to have to do a little editing. So I'm going to give you the scoop.
Right.
And bruh here going to read you the scriptures.
So let me give you a layup. Let me give you an alley-oop.
Right.
Okay.
So,
now, we dealt with Joseph interpreting the dreams of the cupbearer and the baker.
Yeah.
The chief cupbearer and the baker.
Yeah.
And so he told them, you know, now after I help you out and I help you get some forgiveness from Pharaoh, don't go out there and forget about it.
Don't forget it, brother.
And what they do when they got out there?
Forgot it, brother.
They forgot about it. Right? So then 2 years pass. Pharaoh then has a dream where he sees 7 cows coming up out of the river, looking beautiful. Then he sees 7 other cows looking withered away. And he's trying to figure out what the interpretation of the dream is. So he calls all of the magicians and everybody, and nobody can interpret this dream. And only after all that, because you got to think Pharaoh is very powerful.
Yeah.
Scary even.
Yeah.
So people starting to get nervous.
Yeah.
And now the cupbearer, think about how Israel is too. We the same way. So once things start going bad, then the cupbearer's like, oh, let me call on Joseph.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, remember this dude in prison?
Yeah. So he calls on Joseph. Joseph comes and interprets Pharaoh's dream. And he tells him, well, here's what it is. He says, I dreamed a dream, and there's no one to interpret it. Now, I have heard it said that you understand dreams, and you can interpret. And Joseph answered Pharaoh, saying, it's not me, it's Yah. And answered Pharaoh with peace. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, see, in my dream there stood at the bank of the river 7 cows coming up out of the river, looking beautiful and fat. 7 cows looking lean. I'm paraphrasing, but y'all ready. Y'all with it. So then he says, Joseph says to Pharaoh, the dream that you had is one dream. It's 2, but it's one dream. Speaking of one event. I'm reading in verse 25 of chapter 41. And he says, Elohim showed Pharaoh what he is about to do. The 7 good cows are 7 years, and the 7 good heads are 7 years in one dream. And the 7 lean and ugly cows which came up after them are 7 years, and the 7 empty heads scorched by the east wind are 7 years of scarcity of food. So 7 good years, 7 lean years. This is the word which I spoke to Pharaoh. Elohim has shown Pharaoh what he is about to do. See, 7 years of great plenty are coming in all the land, but after them are 7 years of scarcity of food, and they shall arise in all, and there shall be plenty for all. Arise and all the plenty be forgotten in the land of Mitzrayim, and the scarcity of food shall destroy the land. So Pharaoh hears the interpretation, and Pharaoh says, this is a wise man. He obviously knows Yah, and Yah obviously knows him. Let me put everything in Joseph's hand. What you say, Joseph, let it be good. It's not going to be anybody more powerful than you. Save me, of course.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So things are good.
Really quick, before you go on.
Yeah.
You said something to me the other day that I think we should share with him.
Okay.
You said when me and him was reading over this, he said to me that what's happening now reminds him, put him in the same field.
Oh yeah.
Go ahead
absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
and
So if you think about what's going on as this video goes public, because things change, right? I talk to a lot of people in my day-to-day with work, and I'm hearing all these stories about how people are receiving plenty. And it may not be, I'm glad we're in the garden.
right.
It may not be the same way as we read it here, the crops growing up. Well, people are receiving plenty of now post, what we say was going to say, full body.
Yeah, full body, that full body.
You know, the full body that's going around.
You can't say certain things on YouTube because YouTube will pull your video.
Yeah. So the full body was making people sick.
Yeah.
Some people, have recovered. Some people didn't experience the sickness at all, and that's a blessing. Some people have. I know people that have. So there are conspiracy theories that I will get into, but there are some that I'm like, no, I've experienced people.
Yeah.
So anyway, because of that, there's money being made available to people in abundance. Okay, whether it's a stimuli, one of those kind of packages,
Kind of grant.
whether it's business related, and you are able to apply for help because your business experienced hardship. What I'm seeing people do is waste that away.
Yes.
I'm seeing people get that money and spend it on new cars.
Oh my goodness.
Now the government coming after people because they took business money and did things they weren't supposed to do. And it was reading this, I'm like, it's feeling like God's opening up again the ability that if you're paying attention to what's going on, you can take what He is giving you and put some things in place to knowing that this cannot last. This can't last, y'all. It can't last.
The bottom gonna fall out.
Yeah, every day the bucket goes to the well. One day the bottom, it fall out.
It fall out.
So the bottom has got to fall out of this, right? If you have been blessed enough, hallelujah, that you received some extra, or even it was replacing something that you lost. I understand some people were in a position where they lost so much that a lot of it's going to go to replace what they lost. We outside, I'm paying attention to what's going on. If you are able to take care of what you owe and still have, don't be frivolous.
Yeah.
Okay? Listen.
Make wise decisions. Prepare.
Put some stuff in the ground.
Prepare.
Okay?
Yes.
If you had a business that you were trying to start a business. You got some extra to put into a business, start a business. You got some extra to put into the ground, put it in the ground.
Yeah.
Buy seeds, store seeds, plant seeds.
Prepare for hardship.
Prepare for hardship that is quite possibly coming. I'm not saying that it definitely is. I'm not trying to make prophecy. But what I'm saying is, between the power of the dollar becoming weaker and weaker, throughout the world. And think about this, right? There used to be a time when we touched money every day. There was a time when money was gold and silver in these days. And even in like the 14th, 15th, 16th century, money was gold and silver. You actually touched it, right? Or you wore it. Then money became paper. Those paper dollars that we used to touch were actually notes of debt, meaning you should have been able to take that notice that said, I have $1 worth of gold, and exchange it for actual gold. That dwindled away. I don't want to get into an economic class right now, but Google, YouTube, everything's at your fingertips right now. Google what happened that caused Greece to fall. Inflation, how they inflated the currency to make up for economic hardship and hard times. The same thing is going on right now, right? So every superpower comes to an end at some point. They're doing very similar things right now. Prophecy tells us something, okay? So there's that aspect, but just pay attention to what's going on around you, and then pay attention to history. Wise people have said, stop me if you heard this, I know I'm full of these kind of quotes, those who don't learn their history are doomed or condemned to repeat it, right? Somebody wise said that somewhere. It has merit. While you are being given and have access to, now they're talking about they're going to start sending you a monthly deal. If you qualify for that and you are able to receive, I would even go as far as to say tighten your belt a little bit. Go without a little bit of some of the comforts that you're used to going to and start planning for some financial or economic hardships that may be on the brink.
Because one of the things Scripture tells us, Abiyah don't want us to become per se preppers. I see people prepping to if hardship come to be
hunker down.
Okay, but you need to prepare for the time before it's go time. You know what I'm saying? So before y'all say go, there's going to be some hardships. You know what I'm saying? So you need to have something prepared for that time.
Say you read about go bags in a certain story somewhere, and you said, that actually sounds like a good idea. Take some of this money and put your go bag together.
Now is the time.
Put a go bag together for you and your family.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
There's some truth to those things that you may have read about.
Yep.
Some of the things that preppers do, I'm like, that's a great idea.
That's a good idea.
Some of them I'm like, no. If you believe we are who we believe we are, and that is Israel, we were always a nomadic people. We were always a traveling people. We did not settle down in one spot for too long. That is until we were given our land. And now that we're outside of our land again, you got to realize that you are again a nomadic, and you are people who have been displaced. This is not your land, right? You are a nation within a nation. Look at what's going on with your people. It's so bad that we don't even realize that we're a nation. We don't even act like a nation. We don't love each other like a people who know that we are blood related. You know what I'm saying? We can look at one of our people homeless and hurry up and drive by them like, ooh, let me get by them before they ask me for some money. That's not patriotic to your nation. We were talking about patriotism. I'm patriotic for my nation. Do I need to say any more? I'm patriotic for my nation. And we have to be like that, y'all. So I found it not coincidence that we were reading about that here, and I said, look at where we're at. And I see a very similar thing going on. And if you wise and if you use the wisdom that was bestowed upon Joseph, because he was just doing what y'all said, and so y'all was guiding him, I would say wisdom say prepare.
It's not going to be, I was watching a special where they were saying that now that people are getting a little extra help from the stimulus and things, they don't have to just accept any job anymore. They could take the time and find a job that fit them, you know what I'm saying? Because the stimulus gives them some extra cushion
Right.
to do those kind of things.
Right.
All I'm saying is, like, we ain't saying thou said Yah, we ain't prophesying,
Not even close.
Well, here we say, I am not a prophet. But
Right.
sometimes,
I'm not a prophet, but sometimes I have prophetic dreams.
Right.
listen, take some of, why it's good like this, take some of this and prepare, because it ain't gonna stay like this.
Okay.
Nah, and when it crashes, it's gonna crash.
Yeah. And you want to be on the side that said, look how y'all work.
Yep.
Because
Yep.
he loved me and showed me enough
Yep.
to prepare me for this before it happened.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's what's going on there. So roses. So Pharaoh, we talking about Rosella earlier,
Right.
and we're in the garden.
And we got a pretty pink bouquet.
Yeah.
Plug, no.
So Pharaoh takes off his ring that has his royal signet. We talk about this in another study that's going to be going live too, going up soon, and gives it to Joseph. So then transferring the authority of Pharaoh to Joseph. Now Joseph sits in the seat of authority next to or at the right hand of Pharaoh. This comes into play when his brothers have to come back to him and reap what they sowed concerning Joseph's dream. So keep that in mind. So Pharaoh called Joseph's name Zappanah Paneah, and he gave him a wife whose name was Asenath. So how and where did Joseph get this wife? This wife was the daughter of Potiphar, who was the priest of On. And Joseph went out all over the land of Mitzrayim. So I'm going to read to you. I'm going to splice it in because we're out in the open, and I don't have electricity to read to you from my laptop.
Maybe
got
he
a bad
can.
battery. But I'm gonna cut in and read to you how Joseph found his wife. But Rib is going to tell you.
Okay, let's see how
So
it
what
goes.
happened?
Now, the reason why I'm making a big to-do with this, and we kind of hurried through the first part, is because this is one of my favorite stories in the scriptures. And this is actually in the Apocrypha,
Yeah.
the story of Asenath and Joseph,
It's the testament of Asenath.
of Asenath.
Yeah.
Or she would later be known as Yapha.
Yaffah.
Okay, so now, when I tell you this, you're going to know why this is one of my favorite stories.
Yeah.
So Joseph, we already know how Joseph made the women of
Swoon.
Egypt feel, okay? So, needless to say, Joseph made, not to say he got a big head, you know what I'm saying, but when you got that
He's
kind of,
confident.
he's very confident in himself, okay?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, across the land is a young girl named Asenath. Not young, but, young lady named Asenath.
So, just to highlight how beautiful Asenath was said to be, I'm reading here in chapter 1 and beginning at verse 8. No, let's begin at verse 6. It says, and Pentaphares had a virgin daughter of about 18 years of age, tall and beautiful and graceful, more beautiful than any other virgin in the land. And she was quite unlike the daughters of the Egyptians, but in every respect like the daughters of the Hebrews. And she was tall as Sarah, and as beautiful as Rebekah, and as fair as Rachel. And this virgin's name was Asenath. And the fame of her beauty spread through all the land, even to its remotest corners, and all of the sons of the masters, it actually says the sons of the lords, and of the satraps, and of the kings, sought her hand in marriage, young men, all of them. And there was great rivalry between them because of her, and they began to fight amongst themselves because of Asenath. And Pharaoh's oldest son heard about her, and he begged for his father to give her to him as a wife. And he said to him, give me Asenath, the daughter of Pentaphares, the priest of Heliopolis, as my wife. And his father Pharaoh said of him, or to him, why would you want a wife of lower station than yourself? Are you not king of all the earth? No, See now, the daughter of King Joachim, or Joachim, is betrothed to you, and she is a queen and very beautiful indeed. Take her as your wife.
Now she has the same effect on the people around her. She is known as the most beautiful woman in the land. Okay, she, everywhere she go, men vie for her attention.
Yeah.
Same thing, they get the fever.
What we don't read here, but we do read in that story, is that in addition to Joseph storing up grain from the people, he also makes rounds to people's houses to visit people and to discuss with them the affairs. So he's like a governor.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So he shakes the people's hand.
Yeah.
He goes to their house, and so he winds up at the priest's,
which is
An's
Asenath's
house.
father.
Yeah,
Right.
to discuss things
Some
with her
business.
father.
Her father's an important man in the kingdom. So Pharaoh, go, discuss this, whatever. So he's important. So she's taking vanity to another level. Okay.
Yeah.
She's so vain and spoiled that she thinks the sun and the moon rise when she says so.
So, to add on to this sandwich that Red was building for you guys here, let's read in chapter 2 of Asenath, starting at verse 1. It says, Now Asenath despised all men and regarded them with contempt. Yet no man had ever seen her, for Pentiferes had a tower in his house, and it was large and very high. Now, we told you guys before, in some of these instances, you're going to read these stories that are about our people and our history and biblical in nature, and you're going to say to yourself, oh, that sounds like a fairy tale I heard before. And I want you to understand that yes, a lot of these things they did get from these accounts, and what they did is they simply whitewashed them, like many things from our culture. So pay attention here. So she's in a large tower in his house, very large and high, verse 2. And the top storied and had 10 rooms in it. The first room was large and pleasant, and it was paved with purple stones, and its walls were faced with precious stones of different kinds. And the ceiling of that room was of gold, and within it were ranged and innumerable gods of the Egyptians in gold and silver. And Asenath worshipped all of these, and she feared them and offered sacrifices to them. The second room contained all the finery for Asenath's adornment and treasure chests. And there was much gold in it, and silver, and garments woven with gold, and precious stones of great price, and fine linens. And all her girlish ornaments were there. So you're reading about just how spoiled she was. The third room contained all good things of the earth, and it was after Asenath's storehouse. And 7 virgins had the remaining 7 rooms, one each. So these were her attendants, so to speak. Skipping down a little bit here, and one window looked out over the courtyard to the east, the second looked to the north onto the street, and the third to the south. And a golden bed stood in the room facing the east, and on the bed had a coverlet of purple woven with gold, embroidered with blue and fine linen. In this bed, Asenath used to sleep alone, and no man or woman had ever sat upon it except Asenath only. And there was a great court all around the house, and a wall around the court, very high and built of great rectangular stones. And there were 4 gates to the court, overlaid with iron, and 18 strong young men at arms used to guard each one of them. And along the wall inside the court, every kind of beautiful tree that produces fruit had been planted, and the fruit on every one of them was ripe, for it was harvest time. And on the right of the court there was an ever-bubbling spring of water, and beneath the spring a great cistern that received the water from the spring, and out of which a river flowed through the middle of the court and watered all the trees in it. Very interesting.
Okay.
Right.
And so Joseph comes to visit her father, and when he comes to the door, She come downstairs and she see Joseph and she like, now nobody ever get her
Okay,
attention
so
because
I
she's
want to
so.
cut in here again and give you some background to what all is going on, because there's a lot that takes place here. You really got to read this. I know we always say that, but you really got to read this, guys. So we're going to pick up in chapter 3, and I'm going to read to you some of the details of what's going on. I'm not going to read everything, but I want to give you some good background so you can have the ambiance and the scenery really set here. So beginning at chapter 3, it says, "And it came to pass in the 4th month, on the 18th day of the month, that Joseph came to the district of Heliopolis. And as he approached the city, Joseph sent 12 men in front of him," very interesting, "to Pentiferes, the priest of Heliopolis, saying, May I be your guest today, for it is near noontime for a midday meal. For it is near noon and time for a midday meal. The sun's heat is overpowering, and I would enjoy some refreshment under your roof." When Pentiferes heard this, he was overjoyed and said, "Blessed be the master, the power of Joseph." And Pentiferes called his steward and said to him, "Make haste and get my house in order, and prepare a great feast, because Joseph, the mighty man of Yah, is coming to us today." Now, in this day and time, we don't know for sure whether or not Yah is the name that Pentiferes uses, but we do know that Pentiferes knew that Joseph worshipped Yahuwah. He was well aware, and he was understanding enough to give praise to the power that Joseph worshipped. He understood how Yah was working in Joseph's life, just how Pharaoh understood how Yah was working in Joseph's life. And even though they worshipped all those other deities, it was not a big deal to them. From what we read, it doesn't look like, to acknowledge that there may be another deity even more powerful than all the deities, the multiple deities that they worshipped. Over 350 deities that they worshipped, you guys. So, they had in Egypt a god to worship on every day. And that is the foundation and the basis for a lot of the things that we understand today as, Islam and things like that. That's a whole different topic, but, just a little background there. So it says, and Pentiferes called his steward and said to him, "Make haste and get my house in order and prepare a great feast, because Joseph, the mighty man of Yahuwah, is coming to us today." And Asenath heard that her father and mother had come back from their family estate in the country, and she rejoiced and said, "I will go see my father and my mother, for they have come back from their family estate in the country." And Asenath hurried and put on a fine linen robe of blue, woven with gold, and a gold girdle around her waist. Notice these colors, y'all. She put bracelets around her hands and feet. She put on golden trousers and a necklace around her neck. And she wore precious stones all around her, with the names of Egyptian gods inscribed on them everywhere, on the bracelets and on the stones. And the names of the idols were stamped on the stones. And she put a tiara on her head and bound a diadem around her temples and covered her head with a veil. All right, so here we're going to read in chapter 4 her reaction when her father actually tells her, because she just thinks that mom and pop's coming back, coming to the country estate, and she thinks, as spoiled as she is, that this is all about her. She's not getting dressed up for Joseph. She was simply getting dressed up because she thought that this was going to be a day about her. And it says, chapter 4, "And she hurried and came down by the staircase from her story at the top. And she came to her father and mother and greeted them. And it gave Pentiferes and his wife great joy to see their daughter Asenath adorned as a bride of Yahuwah." I'm going to say Yahuwah. It says God here. It may have been, in their perspective, a bride of one of their gods. Could have been that they were speaking of a bride of the power that Joseph worshipped. It doesn't give us that detail, but we'll read further and look for context clues. And it says, "And they took out all the good things they had brought from their estate in the country, and they gave them to their daughter. And Asenath rejoiced at the good things, and at the fruit, the grapes, the dates, and the doves, and the pomegranates, and the figs, for they were all delightful. And Potiphar said to his daughter, Asenath, my child, see. She said, Lo, here I am, my master. And he said to her, sit down, please, between us, I want to talk to you. And Asenath sat down between her father and her mother. And her father, Pentiphares, took her right hand in his right hand, and said to her, my child. And Asenath said, what is it, father? And Pentiphares said, see, Joseph, the mighty man of Yahuwah, is coming to us today, and he is ruler of all the land of Egypt, for Pharaoh has appointed him ruler of our land. And he is the distributor of corn throughout the country, and it is to save it from the famine that is come upon it. And Joseph is a great man that worships Yahuwah. He is discerning, a virgin, as you are today, and a man of great wisdom and knowledge. And the spirit of Yahuwah is upon him, and the esteem of the master is upon him, or with him. So come, my child, and I will give you to him as his wife. You shall be his bride. He shall be your bridegroom forever. And when Asenath heard what her father said, a great red sweat came over her. Here we go, y'all. This is key. Before we get to the part where she actually meets him, this is key. So a great red sweat came over her, and she was furious and looked sideways at her father. And she said, why should my master and my father speak like this and talk as if he would hand me over like a prisoner to a man of another race, a man who was a fugitive and was sold as a slave? She thinks she's too good for Joseph. Is this not the shepherd's son? Is this not the shepherd's son from the land of Canaan? And he was abandoned by him. Is not this the man who had intercourse with the mistress, and his master threw him into prison, where he lay in darkness? And Pharaoh brought him out of prison because he interpreted his dream? No, I will marry the eldest son of the king, for he is king of all the earth. So as we read here, there must have already been a courtship, at least between her and the king's son, because the Pharaoh's son asked his father for her hand, and she's telling her father that she planned on marrying him. But both Pharaoh's father said no, and here we see Pentiphares is like, nah, Pharaoh's son is not for you. Upon hearing this, verse 14, Pentiphares thought it wiser to say no more to his daughter about Joseph, for she had answered him arrogantly and in anger. Chapter 5. And behold, one of the young men from Pentiphares' retinue burst in and said, Lo, Joseph is at the gates of our court. And Asenath quickly left her father and her mother and ran upstairs into her room, and at the big window looked toward the east to see Joseph as he came into her father's house. And Pentiphares and his wife and all his relations went out to meet Joseph, and the gates of the courts that looked east were open, and Joseph came in, sitting in Pharaoh's viceroy's chariot. And there were 4 horses yoked together, white as snow, with golden reins, and the chariots were covered over with gold. And Joseph was wearing a marvelous white tunic, and the robe wrapped around him was purple, made of linen, woven with gold. There was a golden crown on his head, and all around the crown were 12 precious stones. And above the stones, 12 golden rays, and a royal scepter was in his right hand, and he held an olive branch stretched out, and there was much fruit on it. And Joseph came into the court, and the gates were shut, and strangers, whether men or women, remained outside, because the gatekeepers had shut the doors. And Pentiphares came, and his wife, and all his relatives, except their daughter Asenath, and they made obeisance to Joseph, with their faces to the ground. And Joseph got down from his chariot, and extended his right hand to him. So here they are bowing down to Joseph. And now, here's where Red is reading. This is where she sees Joseph for the first time in verse 5. And it says, and Asenath saw Joseph and was cut to the quick. Her stomach turned over. Her knees became limp. Her whole body trembled. And she was much afraid and cried out and said, where shall I go? And where can I hide myself from him? And how will Joseph, the son of Yahuwah, regard me? For I have spoken evil of him. Where can I flee to hide myself? For he sees everything, and no secret is safe with him because of the great light that is in him. And now may Joseph's God be propitious to me, because I have spoken evil in ignorance. What can I hope for, wretched that I am? Have I not spoken, saying, Joseph is coming, the shepherd's son from the land of Canaan? And now, behold, the son is come to us from heaven in his chariot, and has come into our house to this day. The son is come to us from heaven in his chariot, and has come into our house today. But I was foolish and reckless, and despised him, and I spoke evil of him, and did not know that Joseph is the son of Yah. For who among men will ever father such beauty, and what mother will ever be such a light? Wretched that I am, and foolish, for I spoke evil of him to my father. Now let my father give me to Joseph as a maidservant and a slave, and I will serve him forever. Wow, what a huge turnaround from how she first perceived Joseph. Y'all got to read this whole thing, y'all. But Rib's going to pick up from where she left off.
Now, nobody ever get her attention because she's so, nobody's ever good enough for her.
Yeah.
So when she see Joseph, of course, she instantly like, So she hold out her hand
Yeah.
for him to kiss.
Well, she also feel like Joseph, like every other man,
Yeah.
is going to automatically
swoon over her,
go out of his way to,
Yeah. She hold out her
holler.
hand for him to kiss. He kind of, give her a look like, yeah, nah.
Yeah.
So talking to her father, like, yeah, I'm here to discuss some business with you. So she going to a fit, like, how, father, make him kiss my hand, And Joseph say something, Joseph was quick with it, he say something like, be gone, Gentile, I don't, whatever,
So a lot of good stuff here, guys, and Rib is really giving y'all the juicy tidbits, but there's a lot of good stuff going on here, and you really got to read this yourself, because it's not for us to read it to you, but what a good thing about the way Rib relates to these stories is it entices you, y'all willing to want to go back and read more of it. So a little bit more background here. So before the incident where before the kiss that Rib was speaking of, we read that Asenath has this crisis of conscience where she realizes that she has made a mistake. So Joseph comes into the house and he asks Potiphar's, who is the woman staring at him out of the window? He says it's his daughter, and tells him that his daughter is also a virgin. Now Joseph is excited at first because this is rare, right? So Potiphar's asks, would Joseph like to meet his daughter? And Joseph says yes, because again, this is rare. Her mother goes up and brings her down. Now, when she gets down to meet him, Potiphar says to his daughter, and this is in chapter 7, greet your brother, for he too is a virgin that you are today. He detests all strange women, just as you detest strange men. And Asenath says to Joseph, may you have joy, my master, blessed as you are of Yahuwah Most High. And Joseph said to her, may Yahuwah, who has given all things life, bless you. And Potiphar says to Asenath, come near and kiss your brother. And when she came near to kiss Joseph, here's where it happened. Joseph stretches out his right hand and laid it against her breast, her chest is what it's saying, and says, it is not right for a man who worships Yah, who with his mouth blesses the living power, and eats blessed bread of life, and drinks the blessed cup of immortality, and is anointed with the blessed unction of incorruption, to kiss a strange or Gentile woman, who with her mouth blesses dead and dumb idols. Joseph knows who they are. and eats of their table the bread of anguish, and drinks of their libations, the cup of treachery, and is anointed with the unction of destruction. A man who worships Yah will kiss his mother and his sister, and that is of his own tribe and kin, and the wife that shares his couch, who with their mouths bless the living power. So too is it not right for a woman who worships Yah to kiss a strange man, because this is an abomination in Yahuwah's eyes. And when Asenath heard what Joseph said, she was most distressed and cried out loud, and she fixed her gaze on Joseph, and her eyes were filled with tears. And Joseph saw her, and his heart went out for her, for Joseph was tender-hearted and compassionate, and feared the master. And he lifted up his right hand above her and said, O master, the power of my father Israel, the most high of the mighty one, who did quicken all things and did call them from darkness into light, and from error into truth, and from death into life. Do thou, O master, thyself quicken and bless this virgin, and renew her by your spirit, and remold her by your secret hand, and quicken her with your life. And may she eat the bread of your life, and may she drink the cup of your blessing, she whom you did choose before she was begotten, and may she enter into thy rest, which thou hast prepared for your elect. Check the blessing out that Joseph just blessed her with. And because Joseph was who he was, and because Yah gave favor to Joseph, what do you think Yah does with Asenath? Well, I'm not going to read it to you. You're going to have to read it for yourself. But I'll let Real tell you a little bit more about it.
So she go through this whole thing. I know he gonna splice with the church, but anyway, y'all knowing that, and even Joseph, when his father, another thing that stick out about the story is, Joseph don't even eat at their table. Yeah. So like when the Hebrews would go and visit other nationality of people, they didn't eat at their table because the Hebrews' diet was so strict.
Yeah.
And
so he did eat with them.
He did eat.
But her father made sure that there was a separate meal prepared and at a separate table.
And Joseph's servants probably prepared it.
Yeah.
You know, so it was one of the things where Joseph's servants, knowing that he was going to be visiting with the priest today, probably went ahead to prepare his meal or whatever because...
Interesting. We see a similar thing with Daniel. But we think that it starts with Daniel. It doesn't start with Daniel. This was a custom of people who were separate, literally set apart from everybody else. They did not eat. They didn't want to eat at your table because your table was 9 times out of 10 unclean. Like, if you put unclean food on that table, an Israelite was not going to eat it. They're not going to sit at the table. They're not going to touch that table because your table is defiled. So when they say your table is defiled, they're not just saying your plate or what you're eating. They're saying literally, I can't touch your table.
Your table.
Because I don't want to be in a place where I can't allow the Ruach to possess me when it decides I'm able to be possessed.
Right. So they really guarded that. They, you know, that's something we've lost in this day. But our people back in the day, they wanted to always be vessels, be at the ready.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So they wouldn't even sit at an unclean table. So just
an example
in case,
would be Joseph being able to interpret a dream.
Right.
That was only through the Ruach that he was able to do that.
Because you never know when y'all gonna call you to be to go to work.
Right.
So anyway, so Asenath picking all this up. So y'all knowing that he's going to, that's the woman that he had for Joseph, she ended up like going upstairs and having a little hissy fit, but then she kind of like, you know, forget him.
Yeah.
Forget him. His loss, you know, or whatever. But y'all end up taking her through. Boy, he took her through, didn't he? He took her through. Like, he was showing her things and just, you definitely got to read that.
He caused her to realize that Joseph was the man for her.
Yeah.
And by the end of everything, she winds up humbling herself before Joseph. And I know for some of you coatees and women that may be a hard thing, but she does. She humbles herself before Joseph,
Yeah.
thereby also humbling herself to Yah and to
Yeah.
the ways
It was
that would cause her to become a sojourner with Israel.
She was kind of spoiled in the first place.
Yeah.
So she had like, all these really expensive clothes. Like, so like before this event, she wouldn't even like, she didn't even consider like people less fortunate than her. After y'all finishes with her, right? She ends up like throwing all her rich clothes out the window. You know what I'm saying? Because he showed her just how unclean she was. And he showed her like what sin was and everything he sacrificed and he really took her on a journey. And she ended up like throwing all her rich clothes and her jewels and her gems and everything out the window for the people less fortunate than her and putting on rags. So she just mourned for like a week. I think it's like 7 days. She didn't do nothing but cry. She didn't shower. Well, I don't know if they had showers, but she didn't wash. She wore sackcloth. She just mourned because Yah put a spirit in her that opened her eyes. And she mourned and she cried because she seen how unclean she was and how worthy she was how unworthy she was to be remembered by the Father. And it was to the point where the servants was like, we don't know what's wrong with her, whatever may have you. So finally, Yah allowed her to mourn, but then Yah tell her to get up and clean yourself up. I'm sending your husband to you. So she was like, well, who is my husband, And he was like, Joseph. And she's like, well, he don't want me. And he was like, let me handle that. You just get up and clean yourself up and be ready for him.
Right.
So Joseph out doing his rounds, and Yah speak to Joseph and like, you need to go to your wife. And Joseph like, who? And y'all like Asenath, and y'all Joseph like the heathen. You know what I'm saying? The heathen or whatever. But y'all show him that that's the woman he got for him. And right after that, Pharaoh calls him, and it's like, I've been thinking, why shouldn't the prettiest man in the kingdom get the prettiest woman in the kingdom? I'm hooking y'all up, and Joseph's like, okay, and they end up hooking up.
It is. It's a really good story.
It's a really good story.
So we will have read some excerpts, but y'all should really go and read that whole. I know we say that all the time. But really go back and read that whole thing.
It's so romantic.
So Joseph, in the process, he's married Asenath. They've stored up food for 7 years, and now it's 7 years of scarcity begins. And so now we get back to Jacob in 42. And Jacob sees that there's grain in Egypt. And he looks at his son like, what you standing here for? I need y'all to make a trip to Egypt.
Yeah.
And so Joseph's 10 brothers go down to buy grain. Now, I can't say where it gets interesting because it's been interesting.
It's been interesting.
But here's where we see now that these brothers are going to have to come to grips with what they did to Joseph and the fact that Joseph, who they perceive to be dead, is not only not dead, but is in a position of authority, just like he dreamed. And so
I don't know if you're gonna be able to splice some of the apocrypha in here. Oh no, the Book of Jasher in here. But that's, oh my goodness, the drama that go between. Maybe we could do that next week. Maybe we'll talk about that. We'll go into that next week.
Yeah, it's so much that I suggested. Remember that we do that separate for both of them, for Asenath and this. So anyway, so they go. So Jacob didn't send Benjamin; he just sent 10 of his 10 brothers, and they go down there. And let me see. They get to Joseph, and Joseph looks at them. They don't recognize him. Now, here's the thing, right? In the movies, in the Disney movie especially, they tell you that they don't recognize him because of this makeup or something like that. Or they make him now look somewhat different from his brothers, like the Egyptians and the Israelites look different, but they didn't. They simply didn't recognize him because years have passed.
Yeah, he was a boy when they sold him, and now he's a man.
He's a man. He's dressed like an Egyptian. He's dressed like an Egyptian royalty figure. He's speaking Egyptian. Okay, so now they get there and they get to talking about what they need. Joseph recognizes them and he says, "No, these are spies."
Spies.
He's speaking to his people in Egyptian dialect
Yeah.
on purpose. And he's speaking to a translator to translate to them in Hebrew, like he don't speak Hebrew.
Right.
And so he's telling his people, nah, these are spies.
Yeah.
They've come to spy out the land in order to steal from us.
Yeah.
Those Hebrew spies, we finna have to kill them.
Check their bag.
Yeah. So he says they're spies. They say, no, we're not spies. We check, inquire about us.
Yeah.
You will have heard about our father. We are those brothers. It's 12 of us minus one. Blah blah blah. But you can find out about our father. He's well known.
He's well known.
That's who we are. And he's like, well, where are these other brothers then?
Right. Where the other brother?
Well, our father didn't send our youngest brother, and our other brother, he died.
Because remember, Benjamin is the only one that him and Joseph share a mother and a father.
Right.
And so Jacob didn't send Benjamin, and Joseph really want to see Benjamin.
Right.
He want to see his brother.
So,
Well, they all brothers, but you know, his mother and father brother.
So he like, I don't know. Y'all could be lying. The only way you're gonna be able to prove this is by bringing Benjamin.
Right.
Let me see this 11th brother of the 12. You say one died. I only see 10 of y'all.
Wait, no, he get him checked because one of his. The only way he got the power to do this is because he put one of his brothers in jail. Was it Simeon he put in jail? I think it was.
So he tells them to go back and get the other brother. But he puts the item in their bag when he sends them to get the other younger brother. He sends them to get the younger brother. He puts a silver cup in their bag. He gives them the grain that they asked for, but he also put their money back.
Yeah.
And he sends them back. Let's read from there.
Okay, so
Go from maybe 16
okay, so
or 14.
okay. And Joseph said to them, "It is as I spoke to you, saying, you are spies. But this you shall be proven by the life of Pharaoh. You do not leave this place unless your youngest brother comes here. Send one of you, and let him bring your brother while you are kept in prison. So let your words be proven to see whether there is any truth in me, or else by the life of Pharaoh, you are spies." And he put them all together in prison for 3 days. Now Joseph said to them on the third day, "Do this and live, for I fear Elohim. If you are trustworthy, let one of your brothers be confined in your prison, in your prison house, and you go and bring grain for the scarcity of food of your house, and bring your youngest brother to me, and let your words be confirmed, and you do not
There's
die."
no way this was happening without him telling them, "I fear Elohim."
Yep.
So that was like a pact. That was like a covenant. It's like, I need you to understand, I fear Yah.
Yep.
So I'm not gonna tell you I'm gonna do something and then not do it.
Yep.
But if you saying you trustworthy and you say you fear Yah too, then we gonna make an agreement here that if you do what I'm saying, then I will do what I'm saying.
And then Judah now we find out in the book of Jasher that they just came off a killing spree.
Right.
So this is shortly after they did all that killing, okay? So Judah tell him basically like, "I'm gonna do this, but let me tell you something. If you don't keep your word and you hurt my brother, I'm gonna tear Egypt down brick by brick with my bare hands." So that's the threat Judah give Joseph, and Joseph do something that's like, "Ooh, okay."
So he says, so they can start conversing with each other, and they understand that they're going through this, even though they don't know it's Joseph.
Yeah.
They understand they're going through this because of what they did to Joseph.
Yeah,
And,
they do. Yeah.
And Joseph is hearing this and actually turns his head so they don't see him crying because he realizes that they are in a repentant state about what they did to him.
That was something else. Yeah. I remember that.
And Reuben says, "Did not speak to you, saying don't sin on the boy, and you wouldn't listen. And now his blood is required of us." So Joseph commanded that they fill their sacks with grain and put back every man's silver in his sack and give them food for the journey, and thus it was done. So they loaded their donkeys with grain and went from there. And as one of them opened his sack to give his donkey fodder at the lodging place, he saw his silver, and there it was in the mouth of the sack. And he said to his brothers, so only one of them was left.
Yeah.
Okay.
He left one of them.
He says, my silver has been returned, and there it is, in my sack. And their hearts sank, and they were afraid, saying to each other, what is this that Yah has done to us? So they came to Jacob, their father, in the land of Canaan, and reported all that had befallen them. Now they got to convince Jacob to let them take Benjamin. So he says, we're trustworthy, we're not spies, but we are 12, and reported to him all that was done. The master of the land, spoke harsh to us, but we said to him, we are trustworthy, we are not spies. We are 12 brothers, sons of our father. One is no more, the youngest is today with our father. And the master of the land, said to us, by this I know you are trustworthy. Leave one of your brothers here with me. Simeon?
I want to say it was Simeon. Now,
Yeah, because Simeon was getting paid back for his heart.
Yeah, you know the significance of that because Simeon is the one who really had it in for Joseph.
And Joseph knew that. So they left Simeon. He says, and bring the youngest one. Now, Jacob replies to them, you have bereaved me of Joseph. He is no more. And Simeon is now no more. And you would now also take Benjamin. So this is where we at right here, right now, at this time. I'm short Joseph. I'm short Simeon. Because now you could tell me he coming back, but as it stands right here, right now, he is not with me. And now you want to take Benjamin? Oh, hell no. That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
So Reuben speaks up for his father and says, take the lives of my two sons if I don't bring him back. This is Reuben. He said, if I don't bring him back, you can take my sons.
Yeah.
Reuben is the oldest.
Yeah.
Put him in my hands. Talking about Simeon and Benjamin. Put him in my hands. Excuse me, back. We in the country. And I might bring him back to you. But he said, my son is not going down with you, for his brother is dead, and he is left alone. If any harm should come to him along the way which you go, then you would bring down my gray hair with sorrow to Sheol. Sheol is representative of the grave.
So we leave off.
Well, we read
40, 41, 42.
What we did? We read 40?
Yeah, you skimmed through it real fast. But that's well. We were supposed to.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man, it was fixed to get good.
Yeah, so it's finna get good. So we leave off with Joseph saying, Jacob saying, you ain't taking my kid down there.
Yeah.
Forget about it.
Yeah.
Next, what else you got? So I'm gonna give you a hint. Judah gonna have to step up, but we're gonna pick it up. But next week we'll be able to pick it up. We'll be back in the house, with our computer and stuff, and then we'll be able to pick it up, reading the book of Jasher or whatever. Cause you gotta read this story out of the book of Jasher. I love the scriptures, but they go into more detail in Jasher and really give you the background about what happened, the ins and outs. This was good. This was good. Yeah,
okay.
So tune in next week.
Yeah.
Because it's going to get juicy.
All right. Picking up next week, y'all, with, let me get this straight now because I was rolling. Roll right on into next one. So next week we picking up with 43, 42, and 44.
43, 43, 44, 45.
43. What did I say?
42. This heat. Let me
That's
tell you
that new
something.
man.
Let me tell you something. This southern sun, baby.
Yeah. So 43, 44, 45. All right. Shabbat shalom, y'all.
Shabbat
Have a
shalom.
blessed Shabbat.
Have a blessed feast of weeks for those who doing it. Now,
know that at the same time we watching this, we're feasting.
Yes.
We watching this with y'all, but
we gonna be. Now I don't know if we said this at the beginning. This year we are doing it in tents, but that's not like a mandatory thing with the Feast of Weeks, like booths. We just choosing to do this because we just kind of look for any opportunity we can to practice being in the wilderness.
Yeah, wilderness training. So to
wilderness
speak.
prep.
But it also gives us an opportunity to get out and fellowship with other brews and other families. And we're traveling from different places and meeting together. Yeah. And sometimes we get to, like when we were, y'all saw some pictures probably, if you if you are following us on social media, when we were in Galveston,
Mm-hmm.
we fellowshiped with several different families of brews, and that was in a big house, 3
Yeah.
stories.
Yeah.
Sometimes we indoors, sometimes we
We
outdoors, and so this is one of those events. So you seeing the footage at the beginning of this of us checking our tents.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably gonna see some footage of us breaking them down, and we're just making sure we got everything
A
ready
tent is a good investment. You know, I don't care if you
to
live
go
in the
with
city.
your go bag and stuff.
Yeah, I don't care if you live in the city. Try to find a way, you know, and all you got is a tiny backyard.
Yeah.
Try to practice sleeping outdoors, because keep in mind now, when the children of Israel came out of Egypt, they was not prepared for that.
Yeah.
They was not ready for living in tents and stuff, and they complained so much.
And
They
we read that and
complained-
say, "Ooh, why would they do that?" But we're the same people.
We're the same
So,
people.
but you have that now to read about, and say to yourself, "I'm now prepared by having read about it that I shouldn't do the same thing."
Exactly.
But are you? Like, do you actually practice? And so,
Yeah.
you know, we talked earlier about go bags and tents and stuff like that. Don't go get you now I know some people sell go bags and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
so, even amongst the Israelite community.
Yeah.
Some people sell go bags and stuff like that. Don't get you a go bag and have it all sitting up pretty.
Yeah.
Everything's still in the package. Batteries
Use it,
ain't in your
break it
walkie-talkie.
in.
Use it. Practice using it. Replenish what you need to replenish.
Customize it for yourself.
We were talking about earlier, Rib and I, because we lead such a busy life, the goals that we have for ourselves in life. And one of our goals is to reach the kingdom, right? But you have to understand that just like the goals you set in life and just like the successes that you try to achieve, it is not a destination. You understand what I'm saying? Deliverance as well is not a destination. It is. But it's not only a destination. It is about the journey, because you don't achieve deliverance without having the testimony.
Yep.
You understand what I'm saying? That witnesses about
Yep.
what you experienced and what you went through.
Yep.
So break those things in. Use those things.
That's what we have that our forefathers, Adam and Eve, did not have. You know, they were kind of thrown into it already grown, and they didn't make it. They failed. You know what I'm saying? But we have we have the gift of trial and error. A lot of people don't know that failing can be a gift. Trying
One
something.
of the best
and-
teachers.
Oh man,
Failure is one
trying
of the best
something
teachers.
and failing it. That's a school teacher to let you know. Boom, that didn't work. That burned. I need to go another way.
Try it this
That
way,
hurt.
yeah.
Let me try a different way. However, if you continually to repeat the same mistakes, now that you know we
That's
gotta
the problem.
learn from our mistakes. 1 or 2 times, because maybe it was a fluke.
Right.
Let me try it one more time.
Right.
Oh, yeah, that ain't the way to go. You know what I'm saying? We got to learn from our mistakes so that Father Yah can move us to the next level. He can't graduate us to the next level until we learn what he needs us to learn on that level. You know what I'm saying?
So with that, fam, we really closing out this time.
Yes.
We will see you next week.
Next week.
Same Hebrew channel.
Boom.
Tune in to another Brew 2. Somebody hit me with that. My cousin, Jay, hit me say, Brew 2. I was like, I like that.
Brew 2. That's right. That's where we at.
Come on back to Brew 2 again.
Brew 2. You know, we're going to be doing what brews do.
Out there in Hebrew land, we will see you next week. Shabbat shalom. Y'all
Shabbat
bless.
shalom. Love y'all.
Baruch Hashem Yah, Hashem Yahusha. See you next week.
Cain.
Ready?
Yes.